For 1,000 years, Earth was gone, not destroyed, not conquered, just gone. In the great records of the Galactic Council, Earth was listed as a dead world, a strange footnote in history, once home to a loud, fast-growing species called humans. They fought often, argued more, and advanced quickly for their own good. Then one day, without warning, their entire star system vanished. No explosion, no signal, no trace. The galaxy moved on. 1,000 years later, the galaxy believed it was safe. The Varkal Empire ruled the outer sectors with heavy fleets and strict laws. Smaller civilizations paid tribute. Trade routes were controlled. Rebellion was crushed before it could grow. The Varkal believed nothing could challenge them anymore. That belief ended in a single moment. At the edge of Sector 9, near an old and empty star map location marked Sol, destroyed, space began to bend. Sensors screamed across nearby stations. Gravity twisted. Light stretched like soft metal. Then space tore open. A massive shape emerged from the void. It was not organic, not alien, not elegant. It was brutal, sharp, heavy. A warship larger than any Varkal dreadnought slid into real space. Its hull was dark steel, scarred and layered with thick armor. Blue engines burned with calm power, steady and controlled. Hundreds of weapon ports lined its sides, silent but ready. Behind it, more shapes appeared. Then more. An entire fleet. Old stations nearby tried to send warnings, but their systems failed. The human ships flooded the area with unknown signals, shutting down communication without firing a single shot. Inside the lead ship, the crew moved with discipline. No cheers, no fear, only focus. They had waited 1,000 years for this moment. The Varkal Empire noticed the disturbance within minutes. A patrol fleet was sent to investigate. 12 warships, fully armed, confident and aggressive. They expected pirates. They found something else. The patrol commander saw the human fleet on his screen and froze. The ships did not match any known design. No Empire signature. No registry codes. Just one message repeating on all channels, calm and clear. This space is now under human control. Turn back. The Varkal commander laughed. He ordered weapons to lock. That was the first mistake. Before the Varkal could fire, space around their ships flickered. Human weapons struck without light or sound. 3 Varkal ships lost power instantly, drifting like dead metal. Another exploded from the inside, torn apart by energy that ignored shields. The rest tried to retreat. They failed. In less than 2 minutes. The entire patrol fleet was gone. The human ships did not chase wreckage. They did not celebrate. They simply moved forward, deeper into the galaxy that had forgotten them, far away. On the Varkal capital world, panic spread through the high command. Reports were confused and incomplete. Ships destroyed by unknown weapons. Systems disabled without warning. An enemy with technology far beyond expectation, and one word kept appearing in broken data logs. Human, the Varkal Emperor demanded answers. Ancient records were opened. Old warnings were read again. Stories once ignored now felt heavy with meaning. Humans had vanished during a war of survival. Surrounded by stronger empires, pushed to the edge. The galaxy had assumed they lost. But humans did not lose. They ran. For 1,000 years, humanity had hidden beyond known space. They rebuilt. They learned. They changed. War became science. Fear became patience. Survival became strategy. Now they were back. As the human fleet advanced, they did not attack cities or civilians. They struck military targets only. Shipyards, command relays, defense stations. Every strike was precise, cold, final. The galaxy watched in silence. Empires that once mocked Earth now shut their borders. Fleets regrouped. Alliances were rushed together in fear. No one understood how humans had grown this strong. But the truth was simple. 1,000 years of preparation is more dangerous than any sudden war. And this was only the beginning. The galaxy did not sleep after the first human attack. Across dozens of star systems, alarms stayed active. Fleets were pulled back from borders. Trade routes were closed. Worlds that had never feared war suddenly prepared for it. The name human spread faster than any ship could travel. In the Varkal capital, the High War chamber was full. Generals, admirals, and advisors argued in loud voices. Some demanded full retaliation. Others warned that this enemy was not like the rest. The emperor listened in silence. On a large holographic display, images of destroyed Varkal ships rotated slowly. Hulls cut clean through. Power cores crushed as if held by an invisible hand. Shield data showed something impossible. The human weapons had not broken the shields. They had gone through them. This technology should not exist, one admiral said. Not at this level. The Emperor's voice was low but firm. Humans were never ordinary. That is why we pushed them away long ago. A command decision was made. The Varkle would show strength. A full battle fleet was ordered to intercept the human advance near the Oran Gate. A critical jump point into inner Empire space. 200 warships moved into position. They would not retreat again. Meanwhile, the human fleet slowed near the edge of the gate. Smaller scout ships spread out, scanning everything. No signs of fear, no rush. Every movement was planned. Inside the main command ship, a human admiral studied the data. His hair was gray, his face calm. He had never seen Earth with his own eyes. None of them had. Earth was a memory passed down, protected like a sacred story. The Varkle are gathering. An officer reported, "We expected that." The admiral replied, "Hold formation." Somewhere deep within the ship, old recordings played quietly. Messages from the past. Warnings from those who had lived during the last days before Earth vanished. They spoke of betrayal, of empires that feared human growth and tried to erase them. Humanity remembered. The Varkle fleet arrived in full force. The Oran Gate space filled with massive ships, weapons glowing, shields layered thick. It was the largest show of power the Empire had made in centuries. A Varkle commander opened a channel, a known human fleet. He said, his voice controlled but tense, "You have entered sovereign Varkle space. Power down and surrender." The human response came instantly. "We were sovereign before you knew the word. Move aside." No threats followed. No insults. Just truth. The Varkle commander hesitated for half a second. Then he gave the order to fire. Space exploded with energy. Beams, missiles, plasma storms. The Varkle fleet unleashed everything at once. The human ships did not dodge. They absorbed the storm. Shields flared briefly, then stabilized. Armor layers shifted and adapted in real time. Damage was minimal. Some weapons passed through human ships like water, doing nothing at all. Then the humans replied. The battlefield changed instantly. Human weapons struck with perfect coordination. Varkle ships lost targeting systems first, then engines, then power. One by one, massive warships went dark, floating helplessly. Some Varkle tried to ram the enemy. Their ships were stopped mid-charge, crushed by invisible force fields that bent metal inward. Within minutes, panic spread through the Varkle fleet. Orders became confused. Retreat paths collapsed. Jump drives failed under human interference. The Oran Gate was sealed. When the battle ended, less than half the Varkle fleet remained. Most were disabled, not destroyed. The human ships surrounded them, weapons locked but silent. A single human message echoed across all channels. "This war ends now. Further resistance will bring extinction." The surviving Varkle ships powered down across the galaxy. Observers watched in shock. A major empire had fallen in a single battle. No planet destroyed, no cities burned, just complete military defeat. Smaller civilizations began to understand something important. Humans were not here to conquer randomly. They were here to settle a debt on a distant world. Leaders of neutral systems met in secret. They spoke of old human stories, of lost Earth, of a species that learned patience better than any other. Fear turned into realization that the galaxy had grown comfortable during humanity's absence. Humanity had grown dangerous, and still, the humans moved forward, system by system, toward the heart of galactic power, not angry, not rushed, just unstoppable. The fall of the Varkle fleet changed everything. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council called an emergency gathering. Delegates from dozens of species filled the great chamber. Some appeared as light forms, others as armored figures, others as shapes that barely held a solid form. All of them shared the same feeling. Fear. On the central display. The path of the human fleet glowed bright. It moved steadily toward the core systems, ignoring borders, ignoring warnings. No empire tried to stop them now. They are not attacking civilian worlds, one delegate said. Only military targets. That makes it worse, another replied. It means they are in full control. Old records were opened again. Human history was studied with new eyes. The council learned what they had ignored long ago. Humans adapted faster than any known species. When pushed, they did not break. They changed direction. 1,000 years ago, several empires had formed a silent agreement. Humans were growing too fast. Their technology was spreading. Their ideas were dangerous. They believed in freedom, choice, and resistance. So the galaxy chose fear. A weapon was used, not one meant to kill, but to erase. Earth was pushed out of normal space, thrown into a sealed pocket beyond the galaxy's reach. The Council believed humans would die there, alone and forgotten. They were wrong. Inside that hidden space, humanity survived. Their world was damaged, but not destroyed. They learned how the weapon worked. They studied the forces that trapped them. Generations grew up knowing only one truth. One day, they would return. Now the day had come. As the human fleet moved closer to the core, strange signals began to appear. Old beacons activated. Lost stations powered on. Technology hidden for centuries awakened. Some systems welcomed the humans. On the world of Kesh, a small civilization sent a message. They had once traded with Earth. They remembered human kindness. When the humans arrived, they did not fire. They shared data, repaired defenses, and moved on. Word spread quickly. Humans were not destroyers. They were judges. Meanwhile, deep within the core systems, the oldest empire watched in silence. The Aurelian Dominion had existed before most stars were mapped. They had helped create the weapon that erased Earth. They had believed time would protect them. The Dominion prepared its defenses. Their fleets were ancient, but powerful. Their weapons were based on control, not force. They believed humans could be contained again. They underestimated one thing. Humans remembered everything. When the human fleet entered Dominion space, they did not attack at once. They stopped. A single ship moved forward and broadcast a message across every channel. We know what you did. We know why you did it. This ends today. The Dominion responded with silence. Then space itself began to change. The Dominion activated an ancient defense grid. Gravity wells formed. Energy walls rose between stars. Normal movement became impossible for any other species. It would have been the end. The human fleet advanced anyway. Their ships shifted phase, moving between moments, sliding through barriers that should not allow passage. Dominion sensors failed to track them. Defense platforms shut down one by one. Inside the Dominion command world, panic finally reached the rulers. They should not be able to do this, a commander whispered. They learned. Another replied. While we waited, the humans reached the outer defense ring and stopped. Again, they did not strike cities. They targeted command structures, control hubs, memory vaults. Truth was released. Across the galaxy, hidden records appeared. Proof of the Council's old decision. Proof of betrayal. Proof that Earth had not died by accident. Worlds reacted with anger, with shame, with fear. The humans sent one final message. We do not seek revenge on the innocent, but those who chose our erasure will answer. The Dominion fleet moved to attack. This time, the humans did not disable. They destroyed. The battle was short and absolute. Ancient ships fell apart under weapons built to end wars before they began. The Dominion's control over space collapsed. For the first time in galactic history, the core systems were opened. And humanity stood at the center of it all, not as rulers, not as conquerors, but as the species the galaxy had tried and failed to erase. And deeper still, something older than the Dominion began to wake. Drawn by human technology and the breaking of ancient barriers, the humans sensed it. They adjusted course. The galaxy realized too late that the return of Earth was not the greatest danger. It was what Earth had brought back with. Yet the first signs were small. Human sensors detected. Then before anyone else noticed, tiny distortions at the edge of map space. Old stars changing pulse. Ancient ruins sending signals that had been silent for thousands of years. At first, the galaxy thought it was damaged from the recent battles. It was not. Inside the human fleet, concern replaced calm focus. The data did not match any known physics. The distortions behaved like something was pressing against reality itself. Testing weak points, the human admiral ordered a halt. They had not planned to stop here, but humanity had learned long ago that rushing into the unknown was how species went extinct. Exploration vessels were sent ahead. What they found made even the most experienced officers uneasy. Beyond the broken Dominion borders lay a region erased from all modern star maps. Not empty, not destroyed. Sealed. Massive structures floated between stars, larger than moons, dark and cold. No energy output, no visible movement. Yet the space around them felt heavy, as if reality itself was tired. Records pulled from Dominion vaults finally made sense. The weapon that erased Earth had not been built alone, it was borrowed. Long before humans reached the stars, an ancient force existed in the deep galaxy, not a species in the normal sense. It fed on growth, on expansion, on civilizations that reached far too fast. It did not conquer worlds, it erased them. The ancient empires had learned to fear it. They built seals, traps, and boundaries. When humanity rose too quickly, the Council made a choice. Instead of risking a full awakening, they pushed Earth into a sealed pocket space. They thought they were protecting the galaxy. They were only delaying the truth. The ancient force had noticed humanity anyway. While Earth was hidden, humans had learned something terrible. The sealed space was not empty. It was part of the ancient prison. Humanity had lived beside the sleeping threat for 1,000 years and survived. The human fleet moved carefully now. The goal was no longer revenge or justice. It was survival on a galactic scale. Across the galaxy, panic returned, stronger than before. The Council realized that humans were not the cause of the new danger. They were the warning. Human scientists shared data openly. For the first time, species that had never trusted each other worked together. Old enemies exchanged information without hesitation. Fear erased pride, but the ancient force was waking. Entire star systems began to fade. Not explode, fade, light dimmed. Matter lost cohesion. Planets became shadows before vanishing completely. No debris remained, only absence. The humans recognized the pattern. This is how it started, an officer said quietly. In our exile, human ships began constructing something massive near the sealed region. It was not a weapon. It was a network. Reality anchors, dimensional stabilizers, technology built from 1,000 years of studying the prison they had once been trapped in. Other species watched in disbelief. No one else had ever tried to fight the ancient force. They had only hidden. The first full manifestation appeared near a dying star. It did not have a clear shape. Space bent around it. Sensors struggled to define its edges. Ships that came too close simply stopped existing. The ancient force sent no message. It did not need to. Human ships moved forward anyway. Smaller fleets would have turned back. Humans did not. They adjusted shields, changed frequencies, and pushed their technology beyond safe limits. One human ship was lost instantly. The fleet did not retreat. Instead, they learned. They mapped the force's behavior, how it reacted to energy, how it avoided certain fields, how it slowed when space was reinforced instead of attacked. For the first time in history, the ancient force was being studied during active emergence. The galaxy began to understand the truth. Humanity had not returned to rule. They had returned because they were the only ones who knew how to face what was coming. As the stabilizer network activated, space stopped tearing apart. The ancient force slowed, confused by resistance it had never encountered before. But it was not defeated. Deep within the sealed structures, something shifted. The prison was failing. The humans sent a final message across all channels, clear and calm. We stopped running. Now we stand. If the galaxy wishes to survive, stand with us. For the first time in 1,000 years, fleets from every major civilization began moving toward the human position. Old enemies flew side by side. Weapons were ready, but this time not aimed at each other. The ancient force pressed harder. Stars dimmed faster. Time was running out. And humanity knew one final truth. They could hold the line. But to end this forever, someone would have to enter the prison itself, and not all would return. The galaxy answered humanity's call. From every direction, fleets began to arrive. Ships of all shapes and sizes moved toward the sealed region. Old rivals flew side by side. Civilizations that had never shared space now shared purpose. Fear had changed into resolve. Human command ships coordinated everything, but they did not give orders. They offered plans. They shared data. They explained the threat clearly, without hiding the danger. For many species, it was the first time they had been treated as equals in a crisis. The ancient force pressed harder. Reality shook near the sealed structures. Space twisted in slow waves. Several allied ships were lost when the force reacted to their presence. Not destroyed, simply removed as if they had never existed. Panic threatened to spread. Human ships moved forward immediately, placing themselves between the force and the weaker fleets. Their shields adapted, reshaping in real time. Human technology absorbed the worst of the pressure. Losses continued, but slower. Human scientists worked without rest. Data from 1,000 years of exile was shared openly. Patterns began to appear. The force reacted strongly to sudden energy, but weakened when faced with controlled, steady resistance. This was not a war. It was containment. The humans began constructing a massive stabilizer field, larger than anything the galaxy had ever attempted. Thousands of ships worked together, locking space into place piece by piece. For the first time, the ancient force hesitated. The hesitation saved entire star systems. Inside the human fleet, a quiet decision was forming. The admirals, scientists, and engineers all reached the same conclusion at nearly the same time. The stabilizer could hold, but it could not end the threat. The prison itself was failing. Ancient seals built by long-dead empires were collapsing. If they broke completely, the force would expand beyond control. Stabilizers or not, there was only one solution. Someone had to go inside, not to fight, to understand. The idea spread through the fleet quickly. Crews understood the risk without being told. No one asked for guarantees. No one asked if they would return. Volunteers came forward in numbers far greater than needed. Human leadership did not choose based on rank or emotion. They chose based on knowledge. Engineers who had studied the prison during exile. Scientists who understood the force's behavior. Officers trained to stay calm when reality itself failed. One small strike group was selected. Their mission was simple in words, impossible in nature. Enter the prison. Map its core. Find a way to stop the process forever. As the chosen ships prepared, allied fleets watched in silence. Many realized the truth then. Humanity was not asking others to sacrifice. They were doing it themselves. Before entering the prison, the human fleet sent a message across all channels. If we fail, do not follow. Survive. Remember, the strike group crossed the boundary immediately. Everything changed. Time slowed. Light bent. Distance lost meaning. The ships stayed together only through constant correction. Inside the prison, they saw it. Not a creature, not a mind. A vast process spreading through layers of reality. It erased complexity because complexity destabilized the universe long ago. Civilizations were never targets. They were consequences. Human scientists recorded everything. Every reaction. Every shift. Understanding grew rapidly, but the prison reacted. Structures moved. Space folded inward. One ship lost contact instantly. Then another. The remaining ships pushed deeper. Outside, allied fleets felt the pressure increase. Stabilizers began to fail. The ancient force pushed harder, sensing resistance from within. Human commanders outside held the line with everything they had. Inside, the strike group reached the core pattern, and they understood the final truth. The force could not be destroyed, but it could be fixed. The process needed balance, a stable reference, something that understood it completely and remained part of it forever. Silence filled the human ships. Everyone knew what that meant. No one argued. Preparations began immediately outside the prison. Space shook violently. Stars dimmed faster. Allied fleets started to lose ground. Time was almost gone. Inside the prison, one human ship turned away from the rest and moved toward the center. The others transmitted everything they had learned. The final phase had begun. The prison was not a place. It was a condition. When the human strike group crossed the boundary, space did not break or explode. It thinned. Colors faded. Distance lost meaning. Sensors stopped giving numbers and began giving warnings instead. The ships moved on human control alone. Inside the lead vessel, silence filled every corridor. The crew knew the plan. No speeches were needed. Humanity had chosen volunteers, not heroes. People who understood that survival sometimes demanded a price paid quietly outside the prison. Allied fleets held the line. Energy storms hit their shields again and again. The ancient force pushed harder, trying to break free completely. Every second mattered. Inside, the human ships found the truth. The ancient force was not alive in the way people understood life. It was a process, a reaction created long ago when the universe was younger and unstable. It removed complexity to restore balance. Civilizations were not enemies. They were symptoms. Human scientists worked fast. Data flowed across shared networks. Other species watched in shock as humans treated the impossible like a hard problem, not a god. Then the prison reacted. Structures that had been silent for ages began to move. Space folded inward. One human ship vanished without a trace. Not destroyed, removed. The remaining ships adapted again. Humanity had lived beside this thing for 1,000 years. They knew one final secret the galaxy did not. The ancient force could not erase what fully understood it. Understanding changed the equation. A human engineer discovered the core pattern. The force did not think, but it followed rules. If those rules were mirrored and locked, the process would stop, but it required an anchor. Something had to remain inside the prison forever to hold the pattern stable. There was no debate. The human commander volunteered immediately. So did others. In the end, the choice was made by design, not emotion. One ship, one crew, no return. Outside the prison, allied fleets felt the change. The ancient force slowed. Stars stopped fading. Space stabilized in waves. Inside, the anchor ship moved to the center of the process. Reality pressed in from all sides. Hull plating peeled away. Systems failed one by one. The crew stayed calm. Messages were sent to the fleet outside. Short, simple, we see it clearly now. This will work. Do not follow. The final system activated. The prison collapsed inward. Not violently, but completely. The ancient force was sealed into a fixed state, no longer able to spread or react. The anchor ship vanished with it. Silence followed. Across the galaxy, systems stabilized. Stars returned to normal. Worlds that had been fading held together again. The threat was gone, but the cost was clear. Humanity had lost one of its own, not to war, but to responsibility. The Allied fleet slowly powered down. No one celebrated. No one spoke for a long time. Then a message spread across every known system, not from a government, not from a council, from countless worlds at once. Gratitude. The Galactic Council dissolved itself within days. Its old structure was no longer trusted. A new assembly formed, built on transparency and shared defense. Humans refused leadership. They took something else instead. Recognition. Earth was restored to the star maps, not as a warning, not as a footnote. As a home. When the human fleet finally turned back, they did not look like conquerors returning from victory. They looked like guardians leaving a watch post. The galaxy was quieter now. Safer. And wiser. But on Earth, far from the stars, children grew up hearing a simple truth. Humanity vanished once because others feared what it might become. Humanity returned because it chose what it already was, and somewhere beyond space, beyond time, a silent ship held the universe steady because humans do not run forever. Earth did not return in fire or glory. It returned quietly. The stars around the Sol system stabilized first. Then old jump paths reopened, paths the galaxy had once erased from every chart. One by one, distant observatories confirmed the impossible. Earth was back in normal space, not rebuilt by others, not claimed, waiting. When the first human ships entered the system, no one spoke. The blue of Earth filled the screens. Oceans still moved. Clouds still turned. Scars remained from the long exile, but the planet was alive. Humanity had carried Earth in memory for 1,000 years. Now it was real again. The fleet did not land immediately. Sensors scanned carefully. Reality anchors were placed gently, respectfully. Humanity would not risk the same mistake twice. Across the galaxy, the reaction was unlike anything before. No empire made demands. No fleets approached in threat. Worlds that had once feared humans now watched with something close to relief. The galaxy had survived because humans returned. Earth became something new. Not a capital. Not a throne world. A meeting place. Species arrived slowly at first. Scientists, builders, historians. Those who wanted to understand how a single world had endured exile, betrayal, and responsibility without turning into a monster. Humans shared everything. The prison technology was dismantled carefully. Knowledge was distributed with limits, not secrecy. The lesson had been learned. Power without wisdom always returned as disaster. A new galactic network formed, not ruled by force, but anchored by mutual defense and shared warning systems. No civilization could erase another in secret again. Humanity did not stand above the galaxy. They stood within it. On Earth, life continued in simple ways. Cities grew, but slowly. Nature was protected fiercely. The sky was watched, but not feared. Children learned history early, not as a story of victory, but as a warning. They were taught that strength was not domination. It was restraint. Far beyond the galaxy, the anchor remained. Not suffering, not trapped, holding. Human science confirmed it years later. The crew still existed, preserved in a stable moment, alive in purpose, if not in time. Humanity did not rush to free them. Some duties must be respected. When asked why humans did not claim leadership after saving everyone, the answer was always the same. We remember what fear makes people do. The galaxy entered a long era of peace. Not perfect, never perfect, but honest. Conflicts happened, but they were contained. The memory of erasure was too fresh, and the name human changed meaning. It no longer meant reckless growth. It meant endurance. It meant preparation. It meant the species that vanished once learned patience in darkness and returned not to rule but to make sure no one else would ever be erased again. Earth shone quietly among the stars, not as a warning, not as a threat, but as proof that when the galaxy was not ready for humanity, humanity chose to be ready for the galaxy.